Have you ever considered becoming an entrepreneur in your midlife? Well, if you have, then you need to listen to today's podcast. It is such a juicy episode. Now, if we haven't met, welcome to the Midlife Podcast. Great to have you here. My name is Lindsay de Swart and I'm the host of the show. And on today's show, I'm really excited because I'm interviewing one of my mentors, and that is Brenda Rigney. And Brenda, CEO, then left the corporate world, went through a divorce, and she went through a bit of a journey to find out what happiness actually meant for her and what it meant for her to have her own business, to work on her own terms, and to break free of expectations that she'd been brought up with for the last probably 30 years in business and before that too. So stay with us today. If you've ever felt like you're just ticking the boxes, but you haven't quite, mastered your own happiness, then you're going to love today. So I'll see you in the episode. Let's dive in. Hi, Brenda. How are you? It's nice to see you again.
I'm doing well. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. I think you and I have both got a bit of a cold. So if we have coughing and
colds.
Yeah, coughing, spluttering and sneezing, all allowed. That's what editing's for, right?
Yeah, it'll make it really interesting for our guests, but maybe some of our guests are also listening to that too, or going through the same spring cold.
I should think so. So, Brenda, what I'd love to talk about today, first of all, thank you for being on the show. Really grateful for that.
Absolutely.
I would love to find out about your journey, because when did we connect? Probably 6 months ago, I think.
Yeah, it was before the holidays. And and then you came into one of my master classes and then joined the community.
So I would love for you to introduce yourself and just share your story about midlife transition, because I think it's fab. And then we'll talk a bit more about what you're doing now too.
Thank you. I feel like it's fab now, but like at the time, probably when it was really hitting the fan, it wasn't that fabulous. But so I mean, here's the thing about midlife is that that I've experienced. Some of your listeners might be going through the same thing, or you may have gone through the same thing, but like the dots don't all connect together until what I sort of say now, because I think I'm at that higher state of consciousness. But as you're going through it, and even as I'm going through it, when I was going through my divorce and quitting my corporate job and finding a new place to live for myself and my daughters, there was probably 5 years leading up to it where I was in a complete state of unawareness.
Right. Okay.
And so let's go back to 2017 when I said to my husband then at the time that, well, we needed to go through counseling, but I also knew that it was probably past that. And I was optimistic that maybe something radically could change in counseling. But even if I go back to 10 years before that, when my youngest daughter was probably around 2 or 3 years old, I knew that our marriage was ending, and then and then stuck it out, for the kids, for the fact that we were once committed to each other. And I still felt that sort of vow of marriage, like for better, for worse, we're going to figure this out. But I really did know. I knew myself. And then I just kind of tucked her away for 10 years. And then took us to 2017 where I was like, I need to do something different.
Yeah.
And the catalyst for me was I was actually at a retreat. I was at a corporate retreat. We had a leadership, all of our executive team and all of our top performers. We went off to one of the Gulf Islands on the west coast of Canada. We had these external facilitators came in that I arranged because I was responsible for leadership development and strategy development in the company that I was working for at the time. So we're all sitting around in these small little breakout rooms, and we had this question. We had a bunch of questions that we had to ask with some of the co-facilitators. And one of the questions was, how do you know when you're happy?
Oh, okay. That's a big question.
What are the things you're doing? What are the things you're saying? What's coming up for you? Is it a physical reaction? Is it emotional? How do you know when you're happy? What are the tell signs? And everyone's going around going, oh, when I'm doing this, when I'm doing this with these people, when I'm singing songs, when I'm dancing, when I'm doing that. And I could feel this thing welling up inside of me, don't come to me, don't come to me. When you're in grade school or something, the teacher's going around asking questions, or you're don't pick on me, don't pick on me. That's what I was feeling like. And we had maybe 8 people in our small group go around, and I was probably person number 5, and I'm literally counting them down, and I'm breaking out into sweats. I'm looking at the time going, I think we're ready for our morning break. I think we got to go for coffee soon. I was like, you might not get to me. And they did finally come around to me, and the facilitator's like, Brenda, how do you know when you're happy? And I was like, I still need to think about it. Can you go on to the next person? And she was like, sure. So
Mm.
she finished going around the circle. And then she's like, okay, Brenda, we still have time to hear from you. And I was like, I think it's time. Oh, look, we got to go for a break. Like the main facilitator came in and knocked on the
Oh,
door. And
wow.
I was like,
Saved.
I don't have to answer this question
Mm.
because I didn't have an answer. I knew
Mm.
my sort of cause and effect of being happy was when other people were happy. Like when my kids were well rested and well fed, when my ex-husband and I weren't fighting and things were just quiet and complacent, I was generally happy or
Yeah.
just happy that we weren't in a fight. And and happy that my staff was happy like other people, my boss was happy, but I didn't know at that point in time what I was doing to make myself happy. And I was just like, okay, I am like coasting on
Mm.
paper on my LinkedIn profile. Things look like life is great and successful.
Yeah.
And I should be so grateful,
Uh,
hearing all the things like you should just be so grateful for what you have. And yet I was so incredibly unhappy. Eating right. I was literally living off of Doritos and red wine because I traveled 3 weeks out of the month for work.
uh,
And my boss would say to me, I think you're traveling too much. You don't need to travel. No, I'll go. Like if it was like someone had to
yeah.
go to a location because we had multi-unit locations in the company I was working for, I was always raising my hand. I was even saying to my boss, we should go on a church. We should like head out and go out to the field. Well, we were there 3 months ago, Barnum. No, we need to go out again. Like I did not want to be home. Like I wanted to be home with my kids and my
Yeah.
dogs and all that sort of stuff, but I did not want to be home. And so I designed my career. I would take on the next job, whatever that promotion was, to just have more responsibility, more busyness in my life so that I wasn't dealing with the unhappiness that I was going through.
I think a frightening number of people will probably relate to that.
Yeah. And I would just take on shit. I would take on family stuff. Oh, I got to be busy helping to deal with this family.
Yeah.
The flip side of it is that people counted on me. I was a very responsible person.
Mm.
I had a lot of integrity around my commitments. I always followed through on what I said I would do. Yes, it was people pleasing a bit, but it was more a distraction
Yeah.
to dealing
Absolutely.
with the unhappiness that I was feeling in my life and taking
Mm.
responsibility for that. It
Mm.
was a far easier to volunteer and sign up for things and then be in complete avoidance of the fact that I was unhealthy mentally, physically, spiritually. And
Yeah.
until I stopped that hamster wheel and started dealing with that, then I actually found like true happiness.
Mm.
And that's where I'm at now. But so there's that unconsciously aware and just kind of coasting and living your life. And then you're
Mm.
aware and it's not good when
No,
you're,
that's a really uncomfortable place to be, isn't it? Because you've got to
yeah.
face
And,
the music.
and that was that breakout room session, right? So it was like,
Yeah.
then we went for a break. Everyone's getting their coffee and like morning Danish and stuff like that, walking around going, oh, wasn't that activity great? I am literally on my phone looking for the next ferry departure time.
Oh,
Because we're on an island. I
yeah.
had to get back to the mainland. I lived in Vancouver at the time. And I was like, I have to get out of here. When's the next ferry? Because we're going to come back from break and they're going to ask what that answer to that
Yeah.
question is. Because
I
I'm the
think
last person that hasn't gone yet. And I needed to get off the island. So
I think
I was
that's
like,
called running away, Brenda.
but that was like the reality where I was just like, okay, I can't get off the island. I need to answer this question. And now I need to deal with the answer. And that was so scary for me at the time.
Do you know what? I totally hear you. I didn't say a single thing about wanting the divorce because I knew once it was out, I'd have to take action.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't say it. It was the weirdest feeling that I've ever had because I'd squashed it down for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you think about that just even from a like science experiment, the pressure, right? The gas release of
Yeah.
that. And oh yeah. So it was just like, okay, so then we gotta deal with all of that.
Mm.
But so then we did, like we started telling the kids but then it was a year of coasting. It was like, well, we had to sell the house. And before we
Mm.
sold the house, there was stuff that we needed to do on the house. And we couldn't afford to have one person move out and still have the house and all that sort of stuff and pay like, 2 different payments. So then we lived together. And it
Mm.
was just like a year of just, okay, now it's out there, but a year of pain and even more coasting. And like we couldn't heal.
Mm.
And not that again, but it was more like, okay, I can't tuck this away. Like it
Mm.
was just always right there in my face. And so that's where I made the decision because it was really easy again for me to like uh, get wrapped up in my job and get wrapped up in my career and use that as a reason why we're not getting divorced
Mm.
yet. we were separated, but we weren't getting divorced, and we couldn't move on, and the kids weren't moving on, and they had questions, and I don't blame them. It's like, "Oh, well,
Yeah, of course.
what are we going to do for spring break next year?" I'm like we couldn't answer it because we didn't know what the next chapter was going to look like. We didn't have terms and conditions about what that relationship would be. And so and I think this happens a lot as I share my story with other women, I made the conscious effort to really, like, I call it, like, operationalizing my divorce. Like, I needed to take control of my divorce
Yeah.
like I did at work with any project plan, with any strategy plan that I was responsible for.
Okay.
I was like, I just needed to, like, run this like a
A
project.
project.
It's project divorce, and what do you need to do? Like, we need to get our lawyers together. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. Like, we need to start separating assets and who's going to take what platter. And, like, we needed to do that. And someone had to take charge of it because he wasn't. This is not really their responsibility. It's not their life. I mean, like, and it's not their divorce. It's like the aftermath of dealing with their parents. But so it's like I quit my job. I decided, you know what, I can't do the work that I have. And my
'Cause
boss
that's
my boss was pretty good at the time, just take a leave of absence. But I was like also questioning everything that I was doing. And I was like, I don't even know if I want to come back to this job. I don't know if I want to come back
right.
to this life. I think the whole thing needs to be turned upside down and
Mm.
reinvented. And I figured, like, if I'm not going to do it now, when will I do it? So it's like, why not just do it now when, like, you're at the most lowest part of your life and, like, the gunkiest part? Let's just clean it all up.
What was your next step? You'd handed in your notice. You were on Project Divorce. Then what
So
happened?
yeah, so I took a year off. Well, first of all, I quit my job, got going on the divorce, and then I took the kids to Hawaii. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? I was like, what the hell are you doing? I'm just like, we need to go to Hawaii. And the girls were like, yeah, this is awesome. My mom was like, are you sure you can afford that? You're going
Yeah.
through a divorce. And I'm just like, I need
I
to
was
get
going to say, I
away.
can't not do it.
Yeah. And, again, I was in a little bit of that avoidance mode.
Mm.
But it was so great for me to just, like, sit on the beach for 7 days with the kids. But at the time, I was also a girlfriend of mine had given me a book, The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist.
Right.
And if anyone has ever read it, it is a really powerful book around how you can generate money. And she's a philanthropist, so it's not about just generating money for the sake of being wealthy and greedy and that whole thing and tearing down that emotional belief, but really about how you can make money for good and have impact. And that's what I feel like was sort of missing in my life. Like, I was helping these
Really.
organizations grow, and I was making a lot of people a lot of money, but I wasn't necessarily feeling like I was having an impact. And I
Mm.
didn't know what my legacy was. Since then, I've
Mm.
sort of figured things out. And after leaving organizations, a lot of my team members have come to me and said, this was your legacy and this is what you impacted. But I was just in this mode of not reflecting, not taking account for myself, not recognizing impact. So there was a lot of things that I was pulling from this book when I was reading it on the beach and drinking my Mai Tais and crying in my pineapple cocktail. But it was a great sort of turning point for me. And then I decided, yeah, I am going to take that whole year off. I had
Yeah.
sort of been noodling around with it. And I thought, no, I'm going to take all of 2018 off and I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
This is my time to put on my big girl pants and, like, really figure out what I want to do,
Yeah.
that I can have impact in. And that I can also be an integral force in my daughter's lives, because I think because I was avoiding so much of the unhappiness in my own life, in essence, detached from what was going on with them. Like,
Yeah.
I was going through the transactions of being a mom,
Mm.
making sure they got to volleyball camp, making sure that they got those things. But I wasn't really invested in what was going on with them. And I figured I wanted to design a life that I could do that with them. And so, yeah, so I took that year off. I traveled to 7 new countries, got the girls settled in a new home, got that all set up. I went and built a school in Ethiopia. Like, it was a great
Amazing.
time for me to get connected to myself and, like, what was important again, meet
Yeah.
interesting people. All the time, people were calling me saying, hey, we got this VP job, come back to corporate, come do this, come do this. And I was like, no, keep it bay.
Yeah.
And then I had a consultant friend of mine who was busy with something, and she said, I've got a client, they need help, and it's right up your alley. You should go work with them. And I'm like, I really wanted to take this year off. September was close to the end of my gap year. And I worked with them for 6 weeks. I made $35,000 in 6 weeks. I was like,
Wow.
I'm going to survive. Like, up until that
Yeah.
point, I was just like, I might be getting a barista job at Starbucks and starting
Mm.
all over again.
Mm.
But then I was like, no, no, no. You have 48 years of
I was going to say,
scaling
you're a
knowledge.
CEO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and abilities, but you're in this doomsday cycle, right? And you just think that, okay, I'm gonna literally have to get a part-time job making fries at
Mm.
McDonald's. That's where I started off in grade 10.
Mm.
So it's like, but it was a great experience, like being able to work with that client. That client ended up being like a client of mine for like 3 years and helped
Oh,
them get
wow.
through COVID and all these other fun things that happened in their business. But it was a great experience for me to like kind of go through that year. And that was a big turning point.
Yeah.
Now, like when I look back on it and maybe someone listening to me might be going, oh, well, you had all these experiences and you had all these privileges. And that's something that, again, I don't underestimate and I don't take for granted. But at the same time, I think a lot of women, regardless of your past, your education, your upbringing, we've gone through these cycles of, and I know this was the case for me. I was raised by a single mom who had a mantra for me growing up that I could do anything and be anything. And
Mm.
I followed through on that. Like I got the
Mm.
job, I went to school, I got the house, got the kids, got the car. Like I did all those check the box things
Yeah.
and I still wasn't happy. And, I think not knocking my mom and what she schooled me on, but it would have been nice to also know, oh, and by the way, you can change whatever you want. You are fully empowered to
Yeah.
design whatever you want. My version of what I think you should be successful at, because she was a single mom and she had to kind of give up on some of those things for me in those early days because she was raising me.
Mm.
But, it would have been nice to also hear, and if it's not what you want, you can change that. So,
Do you know what? I wonder how much of that was generational.
oh, it was for sure generational and circumstantial for my mom where she was
Yeah.
at.
Fair
She was
enough.
a young mother, went through a divorce with my dad, finishing up, university, trying to get established. She had hopes and dreams of where she was going to take her career, but had to interrupt some of those things to just be able to pay the rent and support
Mm.
me as a young kid. So I think for her, there was a lot of that sort of positive messaging and, great messaging and putting me in situations where I could actually see some of those things off of that checklist fulfilled. But at the same time, it would have been also different if maybe my mom had had access to some of those things herself. And maybe
Mm.
the messaging would have been, and you can do whatever you want. This would be cool, but you can also do whatever you want.
Mm.
So I think that
Yeah.
that's where I've shifted things with my girls, because my girls are now off at university and, they're like, well, I think I should do this. And I'm like, never apply should to anything.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Yeah. The thing is, there are so many different opinions that you could follow, especially at university age. You're going to speak to family members, friends, their parents. You'll hear from teachers. Everybody will tell you their opinion of what
Yeah.
they think is your best road forward. It makes no sense to me to follow something that in your heart of hearts you feel is a should. You feel is an obligation when you've got to invest all of your time and energy into it for years and
Yes.
it's purely an obligation.
Decades.
Yeah.
Decades at this point, right? Because we talk about midlife, like I'm 55. So like 5 decades.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. And I think, so one of the things that was cornerstone for me was, in order for me to continually feel like I am the owner of my life and
Mm.
everything that contains in that life, my relationships, my wealth, my community impact, my spirituality, my business, my health, was that I had to have a very clear vision of what I wanted my life to be. And
Yeah.
it wasn't a maybe and it wasn't a should. It was like clearly defined by me. And if I was
Uh-huh.
in a relationship with somebody else, my kids, whomever, a dog, like those would, not to say that their needs or wishes weren't important to me, but yeah,
Mm.
they were secondary to what I wanted in my vision
Mm.
for my life.
Mm.
And then it was my values. I had to get really clear on what my values are, because I think, up until the age of 48, I was living somebody else's definition of what is
Yeah.
seen as a valuable life and choices and decision making. And I had to cleanse some of that. I had to like acknowledge it and then
Mm.
say thank you. That was great up until now, and it's no longer necessary for me, or I don't need that value anymore. It's
Yeah.
served its time, and now I need this instead.
Yeah.
This is what I need to like continue on with my vision. And then set goals for my life and kind of all those domains that I talked about earlier: spirituality, health, wealth. Like what do I want to see for my wealth? What do I want to see? Like, how do I want to make money? Because like that example
Mm.
of working with that client for, 5 to 6 weeks and making $35,000, I was like, yeah, I could do this. I could do this really
Yeah.
easy.
Seriously.
And I didn't even have a website. I didn't even have business cards. I was like, okay, what happens if I get all of those things? How much more money can I make?
Yeah.
So I think that's the message that I would want your listeners to get across is sometimes when we're in like the darkest spaces, just getting clear around what you want and then the values and then setting goals. Don't worry about how it's going to happen. Just
Yeah.
define it for yourself. Once you define it, the how actually starts coming out of the woodwork. Like it
Yeah.
literally starts popping up around you. I use the analogy of like an Easter basket, right? Like as soon as you have defined what you want and why you want it, how you get there, you can just be walking along the path and all these little gemstones or Easter eggs will start popping up. You can just put them in your basket and you can decide, yeah, this was a good how or it wasn't. Don't need it now. But I think up until then, I was doing all this stuff, right? But it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily aligned to like what I wanted.
Yeah. You can end up overcompensating because if you don't have your happiness because of what you're doing, then you're always going for that next goal because you think that's the secret to feeling better.
Yeah, for sure.
You get busier, you go on more holidays if you're lucky, you get more expensive holidays, you get a new car, all of these things because you think that's going to be the one thing that will make all the difference. And actually stripping away all of those sometimes makes you really focus on, okay, what are my priorities here?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too is, and I don't want to knock my corporate experience because it was so foundational to like where I am now.
Yeah.
But there is definitely there's a gratifying part about working in a corporate environment. Like I worked in very sort of what I call like young type organizations, retail, hospitality. We attracted the average age of an employee in, say, a retail type environment is like somewhere between 16 to like 20, 25. So
Yeah.
like a lot of young people that are trying to figure out their way in life. And
Yeah.
when I started my career out of university at the Gap at the time, and I was working with Gap, Banana Republic, Old Navy as it was expanding across the UK and Canada and into international, it was a really exciting time. If you were young and single and could move anywhere, it was like an amazing thing. It was like
Yeah.
Peace Corps or military for retail.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
taught you everything about business. It was a very
Wow.
generous organization at the time. Like, and it was still very much family owned, like the Fisher family that started the Gap and the sons that were in it. Like, I think Bob Fisher might still be chairman of the board. I've lost track,
Yeah.
it was a family owned business and it felt family owned, even though it was a publicly traded company.
Wow.
And, they would come out to stores and you would meet them and they would talk about your entrepreneurial journey as a retail store manager or district manager. And I grew up, I was in the company for 15 years, but I changed all the time and I grew with it. And it was really a great environment to learn about business and how to lead people and how to lead organizations. But it also did everything for you as far as like those values, goals, and vision, right? It would just be like, okay, you're going to open a store, you're going to move here, you're going to do this. And it was very easy as a young person to kind of fall into that. And then you'd
Yeah.
also get rewarded because if you did well in that vision, value, goal scenario that they painted for young people that work there, you got promoted, you got bonuses, you got
Yeah.
more vacation time, you got stock options, you got all these cool things. So of course you're going to get into that cycle. So corporate is very good to teach young people like discipline around those things. But at some point or another, you need to teach employees, and this is where I think corporate environments let down on this as far as leadership development, how to start thinking for themselves, how to start,
Yeah.
advocating for themselves. And corporate, much like the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s, we don't want you thinking sometimes for yourself. We just want you producing. But entrepreneurship, holy cow, you have to think for yourself
I was going to
all
say, what a
the time.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how have you found making that transition initially?
Well, you think that I would be like awesome at it because I came from like business and growing businesses all the time and even like coaching franchise owners in some of the franchise businesses that I worked with on how to grow their business. But when it's on your own shoulders, right? You coming in, it's like, I got a head cold today. So it's like, do I show up for the podcast? Do I sell my business? Or do I take like a week off like I really should? So it's like, yes, you've got that freedom to do the things that you want in your business, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. And so you've got to be able to create a business that you love, that you want to come back to, not necessarily on days when you're sick or you're feeling tired. Take the time, take the rest, but can you design a business where it doesn't feel like you're always in the hustle? And I didn't know that in the beginning. I could preach that, and I would hear that from some of my clients and be like, yeah, let's figure out a way that it doesn't feel so draining for you. But was I doing that initially in my first couple of years? So no, when I first started my business in 2019, so I took that gap year in 2018, the first couple of years were like, go, go, go. And start of 2020, before COVID came to Canada. So this is like, I was in New York in February, seeing all the papers coming in
Yep.
about Italy.
Yeah.
And my mom, who lived in the UK at the time, she met up with me in New York. And I'm like, this is probably going to come to the UK. And she's just like, oh no, it won't cross the water.
But I think we all thought that, didn't we?
And I'm like, you're not talking about a bear or like,
yeah,
you know,
it's
like
over there.
or like a
Yeah.
mountain lion or something like that crossing the water. We're talking about like a disease that's like airborne. And
Yeah.
anyway, so, you know, we're watching this whole thing, but it didn't really hit us until kind of March. But up until like the beginning of the year, like my year was clocked. Like I knew I was going to be bringing
Wow.
about $350,000 worth of client work. And then
Wow.
it all stopped
Overnight.
week 4 of March. Like they
Yeah.
just like literally stopped. People were like, well, let's just see what this is all about. Let's just figure this out. You know, Brenda, we'll probably resume with you in the summer if things have like figured out. No, like that was it. The year was done. But it was great for me because it gave me an opportunity to go, okay, I just feel like I've left corporate and I'm
Done the same
revamping.
thing again.
Yeah, I'm just doing the same thing again. I'm in this hustle. I'm like kind of not doing what I wanted. What do I really want? So it was another opportunity for me to do that check-in. So divorce, then 2 years later, COVID. But I think I use these sort of like, some people would say, oh, these are all bad things. For me, it was like milestones in making more of that, you know, decision to be more of myself. And so
Yeah.
coming out of COVID, for me, it was like, no, I'm doing this. I'm going to work specifically with women CEOs. I'm going to do this in my business. I'm going to offer these type of services. And there might be like months where I'm not actually doing anything different. Like I'm not creating stuff all the time. I'm just going to have like one signature offer and just own it and only talk about that. And it was scary. It was kind of freaky, but I
Yeah.
also could see things that started opening up for me. I started dating again. I met Scott, my partner. You know, since then we've moved in together. We've now got a blended family and like 5 kids between us. We're going to Europe this summer for 2 months, and like I'm going to work out of Europe, but I'm not working every day. Like it's just
Yeah.
like we're testing these things out because we still have one at home. But you know, it's like there's possibilities that I never thought. Like again, going back to 2017 at that retreat where that question was going around about what makes you happy. Like I know today what I do makes me happy.
Fantastic. So talk a little bit about your community, because it's a little bit of a magical community.
Oh,
Because
thank you.
yeah, it's so encouraging.
Thank you. Yeah, I started the Aligned AF community. Like it kind of spawned off of, I was running a mastermind, a year-long mastermind called the Aligned AF
Right.
Mastermind. So this is aligned as fuck. Hopefully I can swear on your podcast or you can delete that if you want.
No, you're not the first, don't worry.
It's like I swear a lot now. That was the other thing that makes me happy. It's like I'm not gonna be the plague little girl anymore. So yeah, it started off as a mastermind, and then alumni, people that had come through my mastermind and been with it for a year, were also kind of like, well, I want to be able to access some of the tools that you had shared with us during those 12 months.
Right.
Can we still get access to it? So I started creating what I called like the vault, and it was just like past recordings and past trainings and Word documents on things that we had gone through in the mastermind so that people could access it. And then I was like, I could probably monetize this just as itself.
Yeah.
And instead of charging 5K or 10K, why not charge something that's really affordable and accessible for all women entrepreneurs? And it was also partly because I was coming out of COVID and we were doing more face-to-face meetings. I was going to networking events. I was mentoring for a women's entrepreneur organization and hearing that women only get less than 2% of VC funding. Shocking to me.
Really?
Yeah. So in the US right now, well, North America, it's 2%. I think in the UK, it's maybe more like 2.5%. You guys are really progressive.
Wow.
Like an extra 0.5%
Yeah.
are only going to women-owned businesses. That
Wow.
is appalling to me.
Yeah.
And also going back and looking at my own story around entrepreneurship, it wasn't like in the 27 years I was working in corporate, anyone ever tapped me on the shoulder and said, you should really start your own business. They weren't
Mm,
going to give me up. They were like, they wanted me in those organizations. My boss wasn't going to do that. And I had also come from a whole family legacy of entrepreneurship. My mom, my dad, my grandparents on both sides all ran businesses.
oh,
My great
wow.
grandparents, when they came over from Europe to Canada as immigrants, they all started their own businesses. And like, I was working for other entrepreneurs. So I was just
Mm,
like, wow, how can we not get more women into entrepreneurship?
mm,
Why is this such a like a like it's not part of the career conversation? And again, going back
mm,
to that mantra that my mom, invested in me in those early days of like, you can do this, you can do this, you can get the job and work for somebody else and make
mm,
money versus I never got the message you can be an entrepreneur. Again, not knocking my parents, but it was more like, how can more women get into entrepreneurship? And so that was the dawn of the Online AF community, where it's like, I wanted
mm.
to just basically, whether or not I'm going on a podcast or sharing something on Instagram, I am like giving away my stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And people would ask me, and I'd have coaches going, you got to charge for that. You got to charge for that. And I'm like, I'm making money. Like, it's not a problem for me to make money. And if I want to
Yeah.
make more money, I know how to hustle and make more money.
Mm,
And at the same time, I want to see more women into entrepreneurship.
mm,
And why do I have to be taking the whole pie? Why can't I be also giving up the pie and making sure that more
mm,
people get access into that? So I started the Aligned AF community. It was $5 a month when I started it. We're now at $9 a month. It will increase over time, but it's never
mm,
going to be something where it's going to be like $5,000 a month or something
mm,
crazy like that. And I also will look at it that if there's opportunities for women who want to work with me more, like in closer proximity or in more intensity, then obviously they're at a point where they want to invest more, then that's cool.
mm.
But the whole idea behind the community is that we're there to obviously network and grow our
Yep.
relationships with other women business owners. And is there an opportunity to collaborate and partner? So that's one of our tenets. The other one is trainings, tools, and templates. Like everything that you need to start an online business, you can find inside the community. Yes,
Mm,
you could probably find it on YouTube or patching together 20 free, freebies that get downloaded off the internet.
mm,
But you can also come into our hub and find everything that you need there. And then the last part of it is that we're there to help you grow your lead generation. Like I want the Aligned AF community to be your number one lead source for your
mm,
business through either collaborations, through either the training templates and tools that we have, or like this year, we're piloting 3 lead generation events. So we've got a bundle that's coming out in the spring. We're going to do a speaker summit in early summer and then another bundle in the fall. And probably, maybe even add like a fourth event, like a Black Friday or a Boxing Day promotion thing.
yeah.
But for me, it's like, I just don't want our community to be talking about lead generation and
Mm.
building wealth in your business, but we're actually going to do it. We're going to set up the events for members in the community to be a part of. So,
So good. And you allow people within the community to come on and be like a guest speaker to teach their thing.
yep. Yep. This morning we had a guest mentor session. So Megan, who is a member in our community, she has a program called Points to Paradise where she helps people figure out how to use their credit card points to go on more family vacations, right? So
Yeah.
we know as entrepreneurs, sometimes it's like we're putting all of our money into our business or our, everyday living expenses, and then vacations get, oh yeah, well, when I make like $1 million,
Yeah.
we'll start going on vacation or something, and they get putting off. And she's figured out a way to help business owners take more vacations and still enjoy, obviously growing their businesses. So she came in and taught us that this morning. So there's opportunities for, again, like partnership collaborations, and then also getting your expertise out there in the community. I love being in it because the conversations are great. There's an opportunity for people to self-promote themselves, not to the
Mm,
point where it's icky, like it
mm,
feels like a classified ads, but it's more, um, again, sharing your expertise, commenting. The community board is always sort of alive and well, and there's new
mm.
members joining every week. So we're at 155 members right now, and our goal this year is to get to 1,000 members. So,
Fantastic. And how has it grown you as a person?
uh, how's it grown me as a person? Well, I think it all just goes back to I can, create a business where I'm not working 24/7.
Mm,
It gives me that sort of free time to have a hobby. I'm more invested in myself and my health.
mm,
But it also challenges me, I guess, from a leadership standpoint of working with women business owners in different speeds and capacities and kind of like where people are at. I'm always sort of I love solving problems. That's always something that I'm been good at, and I love helping solve a problem or unlock something for somebody. And if that helps them get another 5K this month or another 10K in their business, then that's awesome. And, it's funny, it's surprising that the response I get back from people too when I help them out is like, and I'm only paying $9 a month for this. This is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, this is crazy. Like this, like somehow like people feel that there's something wrong about it. And I'm like, no, this is actually how I think things should be in the world.
Yeah.
Like, if you get to a point where it's like, what I'm feeling, I think it's always the adage, and, there's so much stuff going on in the world right now. You can just open YouTube or the front page of a newspaper article, and it's like, the rich are wanting to get richer, richer, richer. And it's like, at the end of the day, I go back to that island retreat, and it's like, what makes me happy?
Yeah.
And, having the job and the stock options and the bonus things, and I still wasn't happy. Financially, like, yeah, sure. If you looked at my credit card statement, it was fine. If you looked at like my wealth statement or something like that, if someone wanted to do an audit on, it was fine, and it's still fine. So I think that's the thing. Like, I guess, yeah, I'm trying to answer your question. How do I know that like it feels really good, or what have I learned from it, is that happiness doesn't necessarily just come from your business. It doesn't necessarily come from your career. There's other things in my life that I know make me happy, and I get to do those things every day. And my business is just growing. Like, it just continues to grow.
It's fantastic. It's so good. So how can people find you, Brenda? What's the best way for people to find something like the masterclass that I did, which is how I met you,
Right.
and to find out more about the Aligned AF community?
Yeah. So the best place is, there's my website, BrendaRigney.com, but it's a website, and I know I should probably invest more in it, but I don't really. It's like my digital business card. You can find
Yeah.
everything there. So BrendaRigney.com. But the best place to really kind of engage with me and the content and learning more about what I do and just how I show up for people would be, and kind of a little bit of test to see if everything I'm saying is actually true, would probably be my Instagram. So that's the most public facing. So at It's Brenda Rigney. And there's pin posts on, so the workshop that you're talking about, I'm now calling my list building workshop, because it's all about building our email list with high quality leads, and then how do we nurture them and then convert more sales from it. So you can find that there. And then you can also find more information about the Aligned AF community there. And just send me a message in the DMs.
Fantastic. And if anybody's got questions about it as a participant in the community, then obviously reach out to me, because I've been in the community for nearly 6 months, I think now.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but we now have a referral bonus that you get 50%
Oh, okay.
commission off of anybody that you refer into the community.
Bonus. I saw that email the other day.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Brenda, thank you so much. It was lovely to get more details about your story, and thank you for sharing it. Because I think what I love so much is that you make learning to start your own business, you make it so accessible. Because for so many people, of course, they think the only option going on right now is this whole thing, buy a $500 course, and then you don't get
Your
the support.
$25,000 mastermind.
Well, there's that too. And I mean, I've done various different ways.
Right.
And this is by far the most accessible,
affordable. I mean, again, you could be sitting at your corporate desk right now. So that's like, I'm giving you like the most drastic situation where it's like, quit my job, got a divorce, moved, radical transformation. Things might not be that way for you right now, or maybe they are, and you're just thinking, yeah, I'm thinking about wanting to do entrepreneurship, but I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
And I've got my job right now. I don't want to like rock the boat. Totally cool. If I had me where I was like, say, 10 years ago, that would have been amazing. So that's where I sort of think about it. It's like, if you're still in your corporate job, join the Aligned AF community. Then it's like, I can also tell you about all the things like, don't buy this. Don't invest in like 20 tech platforms. Do these ones and save some money and save some heartache and headaches and all the other fun stuff. Because that is the thing about the great side about entrepreneurship, but it's also the downside. There's always the good angel and the bad angel on your shoulder. Is, you can suck a lot of money into some of those new ideas that you have in your business.
Yeah.
And, so be in a room with other entrepreneurs and hear from them about like what worked, what didn't work, here's some loopholes, here's some shortcuts that you can take, and it will save you time, it'll save you money. And, and get you to that, success where then you can see, hey, I could actually start leaving my corporate job. I am bringing in money, or there is a path forward for me to bring in more money that can replace my corporate income.
Yeah, without, as you say, without having to chuck a ton of money at it, because there's so many
Yeah.
softwares that you could buy,
Right.
but are they what you need now and
Yeah.
at this stage of business? And most of
Softwares,
them aren't.
mentors, templates, tools, all those things, right? So it's just like, and a lot of it is accessible through free or low cost solutions. I've just like really in the Aligned AF community, and then through my own business experience, working for other organizations and then growing my own business, and coaching other women how to do it, I put it all into the Aligned AF community. So it's just really, it's just one stop.
Yeah, super
So,
easy. Fantastic. Well, look, go and nurse your head cold so you feel
thank
better
you.
soon. And I shall go and do the same. So honey and lemon all round, I say.
Absolutely. Lots of vitamin C.
Thanks so much, Brenda. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Hi, what did you think of the show? So great to have you here. I hope you really enjoyed it and hope you took something away from it too. Anything that was mentioned in the show, you'll find the links in the show notes down below. But also, while you're here, I'd love to invite you to come over and join our free community, the Midlife Freedom Club. The Midlife Freedom Club was exactly what I wish that I'd had when I was going through designing my new life and my reinvention. So the Midlife Freedom Club is full of resources for you. It has the podcast in one easy place to access all of the information. You'll get mindset shifts in there. You'll get small training courses, and you'll also get Q&A sessions and weekly calls. So you can come in there and just have some all-round foundation building life coaching within that community. So if you're reinventing yourself or you're designing your next chapter, it is the community that you want to be in. It's full of midlife women who are stepping up, using all of their fantastic experience to move forward into their next chapter, into their freedom era. So if that's you, come and join us in the community. I'd love to see you there. And you'll find the link below.